The next speaker in this Tech Talk session is Mr. Harpreet Bhatia, Director, Channels and Strategic Alliances, India and SAARC, Palo Alto Networks, and Mr. Bikramdeep Tambar, Cortex Sales Head, India.
Good evening, everyone. Most of you would have known Palo Alto Networks as a pioneer in next generation firewall technology. But over the years, we have expanded our portfolio on the cloud security domain as well as on the endpoint security and SOC automation. We have rebranded ourselves on the network security portfolio as Strata, the cloud portfolio as Prisma, and the endpoint and SOC automation as Cortex portfolio. So today we are going to talk a bit more about our Cortex portfolio. And for that, I have Bikram, who heads our sales for the Cortex portfolio in India and SAARC region. Welcome, Bikram.
Thanks a lot, Harpreet, and good evening to everybody.
All right. So the first question is, what is this Cortex portfolio all about? Could you demystify the portfolio?
Yeah, sure. Glad to do that, Harpreet. Cortex is probably the most interesting pillars in Palo Alto Networks right now. How do I say that? We spent close to $1 billion in the past year alone building this portfolio. What does this portfolio comprise? It comprises of XDR, which is our endpoint solution suite, which comprises of EPP, EDR, and the XDR capability, which brings in network and cloud data as well. I'm going to elaborate that separately. The second piece of Cortex is the XOR platform. The XOR platform stands for Extended Security Operations, Automation and Response Platform, helping organizations across the globe automate their security operations center, making them more productive, automating all the redundant activities, and making sure there are measures within the SOC which are helping organizations, CISOs, answer those questions like, what is the amount of time we have, what is the amount of time we require to respond to a phishing related attack? How much time do we need to respond to a ransomware attack? Can we automate it? What are the automated steps that we can take? SOAR is basically helping integrate organizations across through all the devices that they have invested in, bringing all the security tools together, not only in terms of getting an idea about the incidents that are occurring across these platforms, but also responding and making sure all intel is available in all these tools across the organization. The third most important pillar which has been added is the services piece. We have an incident response service, which is Crypsis, added last year, and Expanse, which is the attack surface management piece, which has been added. Both world leaders and having great number of references in the Fortune 500 companies.
Thanks, Bikram. So my next question to you is that industry's been for long talking about EDR. We were the first ones to come out with the term extended detection and response, which is XDR platform. And I know for the last 2 years, we've been talking about this. It is now, people have gradually now kind of saying XDR is the new reality and kind of adopting XDR. So could you tell me, how does Palo Alto Network view the XDR platform and what does it exactly do?
Yeah, so XDR, as it stands, extended detection and response, is the need of the hour. The industry has been running with legacy antiviruses for far too long. All these antiviruses are endpoint solutions depending upon signature-based databases. What does that result in? An attack, which is any compromise running in an organization, is dependent upon the database being updated. That is the most traditional way of prevention. Moving away from that was one of the most important steps that any organization has to do. Moving from legacy EPP to a non-signature based cloud-based platform where your preventive actions are not dependent upon a single database, but dependent upon the behavior, be dependent upon the processes being executed on your endpoints. But is EPP enough? Everybody knows it's not enough. 2 years, 3 years back, EDR came into the picture where people said, apart from EPP, we need to look at EDR, where detection and response was important and prevention was one part of it. But if you look at it, how EDR has been pacing over the last 2 years, it's important not to look at endpoint data on a standalone basis, but looking at how that particular attack is actually happening within the organization. You can't measure or understand it by just looking at the endpoint data. It's important to bring together the data of your networks, which is probably the most truest form of data, which gives you a complete understanding of what is coming in and what is going out from your organization, and your cloud data, which is very, very difficult to do it in the current scenario. Now, bringing these data together on a solution would be probably something which can be done. But having these data together and stitching them together to find out how are they related to each other is something which is of foremost importance. And that is exactly what Cortex does. Whenever you're doing and you're trying to ingest this amount of data and you're trying to stitch, you have to have huge amount of compute and storage and churning and analytic capability. The fact that we are running on Google Big Data platform makes it easier for us to do it, makes it easier for us to bring out that one incident that could be a problematic or a needle in a haystack for the organization and could be very painful. And that's exactly what XDR brings to the table. Not only is it allowing a single agent, which is about 36 MB in size, giving a capability of EPP, EDR, and XDR, but it is also, which is providing a huge amount of agent consolidation on the endpoint, bringing up the productivity there. But the big data platform, bringing the data and stitching it together, is reducing the number of incidents that the analyst has to look at. Imagine an alert from a firewall, alert from the cloud, and alert on the endpoint, or related to a single attack. That's not very foreign, right? But bringing them together and looking at just one alert for all three is one of the most important things. And if you correlate, that's exactly what our goal was with XOR as well. So in principle, the portfolio has XDR, XOR, and IR services, but all are aimed towards the customer having to look at lesser number of incidents, having to work better in and having to analyze less amount of data, and at the same time having a reduced MTTR, having the capability to respond to threats in a much faster manner.
So a related question, Bikram, does the XDR tool ingest data from just Palo Alto Networks solutions, or does it ingest third-party data as well?
Great question, Harpreet. The answer to this is yes, we can take data from third-party sources. The reason for that is we want to address and give solutions to large organizations across the globe. And it becomes important to address their environments, which are mostly hybrid in nature. Just to give you an example, an organization might be using Google Cloud or Azure, both at the same time. So we ingest logs from all disparate sources, making it easier for the organizations to leverage and get productivity out of the tool. And the same is for XOR as well. XOR by default has 500 integrations across all security and non-security devices. Also, it has inbuilt close to around 560 playbooks, making it automation an easy job. What does it do? It basically makes sure that the deployment is faster and people are able to leverage the benefit of these tools as fast as possible.
Great. Thanks, Bikram. Now, my last question to you. What's in the Cortex platform for our partners? How can the partner leverage the power of Cortex platform?
Great question, Harpreet. Services have a huge role to play, and that's what makes partners' life easier within Palo Alto Networks. We have an amazing MDR partnership program, which gives the capability to leverage our tools, build their services on top, and offer to our customers. Not only that, all these products are multi-tenant in nature, which means that after building a platform, you can offer these services to multiple customers and have tenant-based data segregation across. Another thing that makes it easier and more profitable is the fact that our tenants are not costed, which means once you build a platform, it's on you how beneficial you want to make it for your customers and how many customers you want to add. What is also interesting, Harpreet, is the fact that 50% of all SOC services across the globe are being delivered out of India. We have one of the largest base of IT service organization giving out services, SOC, as well as MDR out of India, leveraging the tools that we have in proposition here, both XDR, XOR, as well as IR services.
Great. Hey, thanks, Bikram, for the engaging discussion on Cortex platform. So here's a call out to all our partners out there. Engage with us on the Cortex XDR and XOR platform, build a services-led business, and increase your profitability. Thank you so much for listening to us, and have a great evening.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.